Something was confirmed in Hungary 2 weeks ago that the summer break has been quietly sitting on top of, and now that we are back, it needs to be said clearly. Red Bull has decided that Max Verstappen's 2026 season is not worth saving. Not in those words. Never in those words. But Mekies said it in Hungary. F1 Insider reported it this week. And the $215 million budget cap makes it mathematically unavoidable. The upgrades are slowing down. The money is being earmarked elsewhere. And internally, according to sources who cover this team closely, the RB22 is already regarded as a flop with half the season still to run. Zandvoort is in 10 days. This is Arc 1 of the Red Bull surrender story, and it starts here. Speaking to media during the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, Mekies said, "We will continue to improve the RB22, but we won't be bringing the same volume of updates as last season. At a certain point, you have to find the balance between the current season and preparing for the future." Read those two sentences carefully because they contain the entire story. The same volume as last season means the all-in upgrade push that kept Max in the 2025 title fight until Abu Dhabi. That level of commitment, which produced 36 separate changes to the RB22 across 11 races, is over. In an interview with De Telegraaf, Mekies was even more direct. "We are in a very different situation from last year, when we were in full fightback mode and competing for the title until the very end. After the summer break, most of our attention will shift to the 2027 car, which I consider completely normal. Most of our attention to next year's car," said publicly before the summer break even ended. That is not a development strategy. That is a surrender announcement dressed in calm language. To understand why Red Bull has no budget left, you need to go back to a decision made in the summer of 2025. Verstappen trailed Oscar Piastri by 104 points with 9 races to go. Most teams in that position quietly shift their engineers toward the next season. Red Bull did not. Instead, the team kept pushing, bringing its last major performance upgrade as late as the Mexican Grand Prix in October. Verstappen responded by winning 6 of his last 9 races and came within 2 points of Norris in the final standings. Mekies acknowledged the cost directly. "The time and energy we invested for the late push last year, does it have an impact on where you start 2026? Of course, it does." Pierre Wache had warned it was coming. In March 2025, he said publicly that fighting for the championship could affect 2026. They knew the bill was coming. They chose to run up the tab anyway and lost by 2 points. The RB22 arrived in Australia 12 kilograms overweight and half a second off the pace. That is what a 2-point title loss costs when you bet the development budget on winning it. Here is the mechanism that makes the surrender real and irreversible. F1's budget cap has been set at $215 million this year. Red Bull introduced 2 major upgrade packages in Miami and Austria, significantly revising its aerodynamic concept while also eliminating the RB22's excess weight. Ferrari pointed out in the paddock that Red Bull may have brought more new parts across the first 11 races than any other constructor. Heading into the summer break, Mekies admitted it will be difficult to maintain that rate of development. "We have brought a huge amount of development to the car between race 1 and here in order to try to as soon as possible correct the large deficit we initially had. That large deficit was self-inflicted. It arrived because the 2025 push delayed 2026 development." Red Bull then spent the sprint phase of the budget correcting that deficit. Now the budget cap wall has arrived. McLaren's Andrea Stella explained his team's contrasting position. "We knew 2026 would be about the race to upgrade the car, so we wanted to leave enough overhead in our budget such that we were in condition to spend money upgrading." McLaren planned for upgrades. Red Bull spent theirs fixing a car they started the year having not properly designed. This is the chapter that turns the video from a development strategy story into something more serious. According to F1 Insider, the RB22 is already regarded as a flop internally. Even though there is half the season to go, it sounds as if the team have given up hope of salvaging the concept. The technical department, led by Pierre Wache, planned numerous development stages to make the car more drivable. But both Verstappen and Hajar specifically described the car as undrivable during the Hungarian Grand Prix weekend, the word undrivable. At the race where they scored their best constructors' result of the season, Mekies himself admitted after Hungary, "I think we never managed to give Max and Isaac a car they could push with." A team principal saying mid-season that he has never given his drivers a car they could push with and simultaneously telling the press that most of the budget is moving to next year is a team that has accepted its 2026 is over. They are not saying it in a press release. They are saying it in quotes, in technical briefings, and in budget allocations. The RB22 has been surrendered. The question is whether Max has been told. The complete picture. Verstappen sits 6th in the championship, 110 points behind leader Kimi Antonelli, with 4 podiums and 0 wins across 11 races. Red Bull are 4th in the Constructors' Championship and are the only top 4 team yet to win a race in 2026. His exit clause activated after Hungary on July 26th, he has until October to decide whether to use it. The $215 million budget cap applies to the whole season. Red Bull brought 36 changes across 11 races in the first half. The second half will bring fewer and smaller updates per Mekies' own words. Asked whether Verstappen could win a race in 2026, Mekies replied that he believes it is possible, pointing to recent progress, but reiterated that primary efforts will be geared toward the 2027 project. That answer possible, but the primary effort is elsewhere, is Red Bull's official position on their own driver's season. Zandvoort is 10 days away. It is Max's home race. The Orange Army fills that grandstand every year expecting him to win. He will arrive there in a car his team has called a flop, with the budget already pointed somewhere else. The team made a decision in 2025 to fight for Max's 5th title instead of preparing for 2026. They lost by 2 points. The bill came due in January. They spent the sprint phase of their budget correcting it. Now the budget cap wall has arrived. The RB22 is internally regarded as a flop, and Mekies has publicly confirmed the focus is shifting to 2027. Max's exit clause is active. He has until October. Zandvoort is in 10 days his home race, the first test of whether Red Bull's upgrade sheet matches their words now that the summer break is done. Subscribe, because Arc 2 of this story covers exactly what his exit clause actually lets him do now that the summer break has passed, and that video is coming before Zandvoort. The open question that the Dutch GP begins to answer. When Red Bull show up at Max's home race with smaller upgrades and a car they have internally written off, does he read that the same way the rest of the paddock does?